Hello, Christine. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Leanne. Thank you so much for having me. I feel really grateful to be here.
I'm really glad you're here too and willing to take on this conversation, which is you're professionally in this line of work. And so I'm really grateful for your expertise in this and your insight as we kind of peel back some assumptions and maybe judgments about what we've always kind of affectionately teased as mushrooms or shrooms or whatnot. Um, Plant medicine is no doubt making a comeback for medicinal reasons, which was the point of it to begin with.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd love to start with your background and how you came to be a psilocybin facilitator based in Oregon.
Sure. Yeah. Hmm, about, I don't even know, is it 10 years ago now? 10 years ago? Yeah. I began my career as a bedside nurse when I moved from Michigan to Portland. And about 2 years or so into my nursing career, I went through my really big spiritual awakening where I was completely overthrown with the illusions that I was seeing my reality based off of. And that was shown to me by being in an abusive relationship in college that I was completely um, heartbroken over. And it wasn't until my first therapy appointment when I was, yeah, about 23 years old, where I really got to see the weight of my childhood trauma and how much I was in such big denial of what had happened to me. The things like abuse and neglect and all of these really traumatic events, I really wasn't aware that that wasn't something that everybody went through. I thought everybody, I thought that was normal until I found out that it wasn't. And so essentially, layer by layer, I started to peel back the onions of all the things that I was running away from and not looking at since childhood. And a huge part of that delayering process was my connection with psilocybin, magic mushrooms, depending upon where you are at and knowing what this medicine is. And with my exploration of this medicine, I really got to, um, it's true that they say that like one journey can become 10 years of therapy because it really gets past the ego. It really gets past your defenses that are trying to prevent you, the protectors that are trying to prevent you from seeing the harmful thing. And so once I got to really have my moment of intentional healing with this medicine, then I really got to see the power of how it could be spread to other people. And so, I mean, it was through my own exploration of using it for myself to heal myself that then inspired me and called me forward to be in service with this medicine to others now.
Beautiful. I'd love to talk more about the idea that it really kind of catapults you forward, where certain other types of more conventional ways of coming around to um, healing from childhood abuse or neglect or certain types of trauma. Um, it's true, this kind of medicine is like a catapult. Um, And you mentioned that it's because it moves past the layers of the ego. Can you expand on what that means?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In science terms, it's called the default mode network, which is the part of the brain that really keeps us kind of um, in survival mode, you could say. And so when we, maybe relive traumas or memories of our past, it can be really terrifying. And it's been known that we protect ourselves subconsciously from going back there because how terrible would it be to relive that or to know what happened to us if we haven't really fully comprehended it? So the medicine, psilocybin, and other psychedelics, they do a really beautiful job with just bypassing all of those protectors in order to show you what's maybe been hidden under the rug for so long. And what I love about this medicine and every other plant medicine or medicine of the earth that I've worked with is that it's here to be an ally for you. And I've never seen it give you what you weren't ready for, even if it was the most challenging, uncomfortable truth that you could possibly imagine. There's a reason why it shows you that, you could say, that layer or that past experience, because it knows that you are ready to heal it. And it also shows you that it's there for you as an ally to support you on your experience, because these medicines are sentient beings. They are here not to only maybe point you in the direction of healing and transformation, but they're also to like to be there in a collaborative effort of supporting you, like as you would as a best friend would, or as a partner would.
Yeah, beautiful. Love this. Um, yeah, it's interesting how this particular medicine, along with actually a few others, kind of got stuck in time in a time that actually you and I weren't even alive yet,
Mm-hmm.
which was the 60s, going into the 70s. There was a lot of experimentation, a lot of this kind of medicinal travel that essentially was shut down and then demonized. But it has a much longer history than the 60s. I mean, plant medicine has been around. I would love for you to tell us, like, how old is this? And how integrated is this in our earth, our way of life? Like, how meant for us is this medicine?
I mean, so it was interesting when I was training and studying to get my licensure in Oregon. They gave us the year that this started, but it was like even back before then, even back before they could even start to track it, I would say. So I would say it's ancient medicine. It's ancient medicine. And it's interesting because so many people are talking about, oh, this is alternative medicine. No, it's not. This is the truest medicine. Western medicine is alternative medicine. Western medicine is, man-made. This is nature-made. And so I always say that psilocybin, ayahuasca, these types of plant spirits that are here to really awaken our collective, and awaken us to the truth of love and unity and healing, are spirits of remembering. And a lot of these other substances, you could say, I'm not, and this is not in a judgmental way, but the abuse of alcohol, the abuse of marijuana, the abuse of pharmaceutical drugs, those are medicines of forgetting. And so it can be so easy to, because of the war on drugs that happened, when we were not born, it can be so easy to be afraid of these medicines that are ancient, that are here for us, because that's what society and the news and the powers that be tried to make it as so that we wouldn't remember who we are, so that we wouldn't remember our power, because so long as we are small and silent and just going along with the system, then that gives the power to them. And I really have the full body chills. Like, I really truly believe the power is now being handed back to the people, which is all of us that are no longer standing for, the injustice, all of the things that have been making our society sick.
Yeah. Wow, I'm really struck by the idea that alcohol, marijuana, and you said one other that I can't remember now. Uh,
Pharmaceutical drugs,
pharmaceutical, of course, are the medicine of forgetting. I'm like having a moment right now because that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly because the war on drugs was a lot about, um, well, it had layers, right? It had a lot of layers. But one of them was about people having too much enlightenment. People were too aware,
Right.
and they couldn't have that because a whole society that was thinking for themselves couldn't be controlled. And so these things were demonized and removed, and they were making some incredible breakthroughs in how to use this and regulate it. Um, so what is the process of remembering?
Mm. Oh, I believe in order to remember who we are, we have to remember who we are not. And so all of the conditioning, all of the labels, all the identities that you could say against society, the government, our parents, all of these external people have been put on us out of their own trauma. You know, it's not their fault either. Like, this is just a generational thing. You know, we know that trauma and these ways of forgetting get passed on generation to generation. And so, in order to remember who we are, we have to remember who we are not, which is all of those things that have been painted on us. And it is, I mean, it is a deprogramming, and we have been programmed so much. And so we have to be really gracious with ourselves because there's so many years and years of uh, programming happening, so that, you know, we just have to be patient and mindful with the process of, yeah, it's going to take some time. It's going to take generation after generation really waking up to doing their work in order to have a better life for themselves and you know, those to come.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about what is a bad trip, because there's a lot of
Mm.
fear around going in and not being able to come back out, not being able to control the experience, which is the whole point. You're not supposed to control the experience. Um, like they're in part of that demonizing these modalities or these medicines. Part of it was this idea that there was a bad way to do it. Can you talk about
Mm-hmm.
what that is, and have you experienced that with the clients that you work with?
So I've never experienced someone have a bad trip. There's this whole culture around bad trip and what that means. I want to share from my lens and my perspective. And I also want to say anything that I share in this episode, it doesn't mean that it's the way, but it's a way in which I have learned and what I want to share and pass along to everyone listening. Uh, but um, oh, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to share?
We're talking about bad
Oh, bad
trips.
trips. Okay. So I believe that there are really, really challenging, uncomfortable, almost like hellish trips where, yes, you lose full control. Oh my gosh, something, you know, shadows come up that you weren't aware of that can be really disheartening, or you experience pain of the past that you didn't know that was there and lingering. I believe those can also all be challenging and uncomfortable. I honestly believe that there's no such thing as a bad trip, and some practitioners will agree with me and some will not agree with me. But my thing is like the only thing that I feel makes a bad trip is like if the person is actually in harm's way from the facilitator, or there was, you know, a medical screening that got missed or something like that that actually put the client in a harmful manner. Like if the facilitator was not in right relationship with their power, if they were abusing their power, if they were violating the client, or they didn't do their due diligence to support the client in preparation. I feel like that would consider itself as a bad trip. But everything else, you know, this medicine, I swear, every time I take it, every time I serve it with my clients, is a form of death and rebirth. And to die is painful, and to be reborn is painful. I have the full chills. And so we can expect, we can predict that it's not going to be easy, but it doesn't mean that because it wasn't easy that you had a bad experience, right? It's all about your perspective and how you kind of can use that as an opportunity to grow and to integrate your teachings and learnings in your everyday life.
Yeah. I imagine intention has a lot to do with your experience once you're in. Because I
Oh,
imagine if you were
absolutely.
going in to have, like, to get high, which is not really the point of this particular thing, but like that's been a thing where people go, I'm gonna trip.
Hmm.
And the question is, what's the intention there?
Right, which the intention can really anchor your experience. If there's no intention, you have all of maybe the visuals or these messages or all this come up, and then you're kind of like, well, wait a second, how does that even make any sense if I didn't have an intention to begin with?
Yeah.
And I always feel like this medicine deserves respect, humility, responsibility, reverence. And one way in order to bring that energy towards this medicine of the earth is to absolutely have an intention setting in place. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be polished. And you might not get what you set out your intention to be. However, it's showing respect to this medicine that's here to build a relationship with you, because also I feel like a lot of people give their power away to psilocybin or give their power away to other plant spirits that are here to be in service to them. But what is actually even more powerful is how can you be a partner in your healing with this medicine? And to be a partner in your healing with this medicine is you have to build a right relationship with it, just like you would a friend or someone that you care about. And there's so many things that go into building a right relationship with something or someone, right? Like it takes effort, it takes care, it takes intention, it takes love. Yeah.
So what would that building that relationship look like? Like for those listening that think, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if this is something that would be good for me or the right time for me. How do you evaluate that, or how can someone evaluate that for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, a bunch of green flags, if you will. So I would suggest that if you're in like a really big state of fragility, like maybe you just got a divorce or you had a really big life altering thing that happened, like give yourself some time, give yourself some pause so that the dust can settle a little bit, because being with this medicine can give you, I mean, it can give you a lot, but it can also give you exhaustion and depletion, after you do so much internal work. And so, if you're already really exhausted or depleted based on life circumstances, or maybe your immune system or being sick or something like that, you want to give yourself some space to kind of build up some chi and some energy before going into an experience like this. One way, if someone is like, I really want to build a relationship with the medicine prior to doing a big journey, one way would be microdosing. So it's taking small, itty bits. There's a microdose protocol that I can, walk you through individually based on where you're at. That's a great way. But even if they're not ready to actually consume the medicine, we can do visualization, journeying techniques where they can actually imagine themselves meeting the plant spirits prior to, and developing a energetic relationship that way. And it's just as powerful as having it in your hands. So those are a couple of tools that I would offer.
That's amazing. Because this is really about what? What are we really after here? You said a couple of words in there that struck me. Um, that beginning to journey, to connect, to visualize. Um, Ego, the word ego just keeps coming up as like this is the counter to what we're talking about. We are so often, and a lot of this podcast talks about how we're operating in the ego or we're operating in the masculine, do, go, push, push, push. And this, would you say, is a more, I don't know, how would you describe this? Do you describe it as having masculine or feminine characteristics? Do you, like, what are we working with here?
Well, so this medicine, if you could say on a grander scale, is known to be medicine, like it's known to be children, essentially. It's like children of the earth. They're meant, like where ayahuasca is grandmother, wachuma's grandfather, mushrooms are the children. So you can see it that way. And I would say, from my own personal experience, this is, through my own lens, is that connection to the mushroom medicine is a way to build and repair our relationship with the earth, with Mother Earth, which I think this is actually what it is all about, which, and what you kind of were leading to, is about repairing our relationship with the divine feminine, our great mother. And so, if we can learn how to be in reciprocity to this medicine, be in reciprocity to this earth by engaging in rituals, engaging in ceremonies, engaging in conscious ways of learning and growing, and also giving back, then we can, I could honestly say, repair our relationship with the great mother, Gaia, and we could see a whole world of a difference.
Beautiful. That's so amazing. This is well, there's been quite a few documentaries actually about mushrooms in particular, like the ecosystem of mushrooms
Mm-hmm.
and how profound it is, like almost beyond comprehension, this network of sentient plants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the idea that this is helping us reconnect with Mother Earth makes so much sense, since it's mushrooms are literally the web. They are literally everywhere. And not just everywhere, but like they're communicating and they're talking to the trees. I mean, it's measurable. It's really wild to think, and not surprising anymore to me, that this is how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in full disclosure, I have done mushrooms once before, and I had the most profound experience where I was on a beach and I felt the need to dig my hands into the sand. And I was watching the sand before me breathe. And one could say I was imagining it because I was quote unquote high. But I actually think I was seeing beyond the veil
Mm-hmm.
first. That was first. I actually was like, oh, I'm actually seeing now. I was not seeing before. Now I'm actually seeing. That was the first thing. The second thing that happened, I went to pull my hands out of the sand and I was grabbed. I was held. Like my wrists were actually being held by earth. So it was very gentle. It was very subtle. But I didn't want to let go either. Earth didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to let go of me. I didn't want to let go of Earth. Like we were having a moment. We were breathing together. And I was so overwhelmed by the feeling of love. I'd never felt love like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I came out, it was like that experience, that particular moment in the whole experience was really amazing. That particular moment has stuck with me because of that moment of feeling that level of love, purity. It was like purity. But what it was I was actually witnessing my own capacity for love as Earth being a reflection of that. And so for Earth to be the great provider, the birther, the sustainer, and we are the stewards as humans of that bounty and of that sustenance that she provides in every nook and cranny we look. It was such it was such a profound experience for me. I haven't done it since. It's really, I'd love to do it again, but it stayed with me and literally changed my life in that moment forever. And I really think that from my personal belief around psilocybin is that it has that capacity, kind of going back to what you were saying, that you can do massive leaps in one session because you're moving beyond the veil and you're seeing beyond the seen and you're knowing beyond the knowing. Um, I don't know. Thank you for letting me share that experience because
Yeah.
it changed the course of my life. I felt held. I felt full of purpose when I came out. It it removed doubt about why I was here and what my job was
Mm-hmm.
while I was here. And it fast forwarded me, I think, probably 10 years of trying to figure out what I was here to do, and a huge experience around having a midlife crisis. It stopped being a crisis and it turned into an invitation for transformation and an invitation of what I'm really here to do. Anyway, thank you for letting me share that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there's a question on the end of that. It was just,
I
it's
mean,
such a profound experience.
thank you so much for sharing. And one thing that I would ask you, if say you were a client of mine and we were integrating this experience that you just had, it would be like, well, was there ever a time that you ever felt absence of love from your history, from your childhood? Was there a time where that love that love, that longing for love was there and maybe it was unmet somehow?
Yes.
Yeah,
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 many, many, many times. I would say
yeah.
defined my life up until that moment.
Right,
A loss
right.
or lack of being met in love. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And something that I really love that you spoke to is that the medicine doesn't give us love, it shows us what's already there, which is this unconditional capacity, like you said, to love, for love, to receive love. And so this is where we don't have to say, the medicine gave me, the medicine gave me. It's like, no, the medicine helped me remember what was already within me. That's the power.
Truly, truly. There's that word remembering again. This has really been a centerpiece to the work I'm now doing, is this idea that we're not learning new skills, but we have come wired for our alignment with our lives, our own healing, our own ability to heal ourselves. We've been conditioned away from this wisdom. It's
Mhm.
been in large part eradicated from our culture. Um, and this remembering can be a bit of a shock and sometimes come with some grief. So you mentioned integrating the experience. What happens once somebody comes through that? What's the process of holding them through suddenly having a completely different idea of the world and and themselves in it?
Yeah. I mean, you spoke on something that I speak about a lot, which is like the grief part of maybe being like, oh, everything I thought was is now no longer, right? And there's a whole new reality, a whole new way of seeing myself in the world and the people around me in such a different way. And there can be loss with that. There can be change with that, which is never an easy process, even if you know it's for your benefit in the long run. And so I really like to tell people, just take time after having experience to be very gentle and slow with yourself. So if you have an experience, in our integration process, I'm like, don't go ahead and quit your job that you hate. Give it 30 days, right? Don't get divorced from your loved one. Give it time. Don't do any radical change in life, because trauma will be true later. And so we just go slow. We just are present with what's here, and I meet you where you're at today in that way.
Yes. The what came to mind when you were talking about like don't make any big decisions or do anything too quickly is it's like going to camp and coming home and trying to explain to your parents what happened. And you're like, suddenly you're on different planets on some level because you've had this life defining experience and there's no way to put words to it. You try, but they weren't there with you, right? Um, or having like it's an awakening and then having to get people caught up on that. So apart from like not making big decisions, which I think is just so wise to let the wisdom of the experience settle out, um, and allow it to integrate. Integration, in my experience, is so important to this kind of work, whether you're doing psilocybin or any other kind of awakening. Um, but this idea of taking it really slow when you come out the other side and take your time, such good advice. Um, how can we integrate once we enter back into the world? I have this, not to ask the question and then keep talking, but when I do really deep Reiki sessions, I really warn my clients when they go back into the world, I say, take it slow. take its time.
Hmm. Hmm. I really love integration as a way to maybe define mindfulness. And so um, you can think of integration as just really being mindful in your everyday life with your everyday choices, decisions, movements, awareness. And I say connect to nature as much as possible. So get outside, talk to the trees, um, take long walks, take baths. The four elements are, I would say, some of the most important medicines that we have access to and have privilege of access to. Some of us and some of us may not. Um, and I love to encourage journaling, meditation, and listening also to the music that was played. If you can get a couple of songs that maybe your facilitator played during the music or during the journey, then you can listen to the music and it will take you right back into the experience that you had, and you can maybe gain another nugget or two. And then, of course, again, if you have a trusted therapist, or if you're doing integration work with your facilitator, I'll do many integration sessions with people, especially if they're open for it. Um, Knowing that it's a long game, it doesn't mean that once you have the journey that the work is over. It's actually once you have the journey, the work begins, the true work begins. And studies have shown that if you do your best to really integrate mindfully the first 6 months after your journey, then the benefits will last longer than they would if maybe you were to just, kind of think about it or write about it for a week or so and then kind of completely forget. And so, yeah, and I do a bunch of, different ways of helping people integrate like energy work and sound healing, and every facilitator will have different skill sets. So find someone you trust.
Yes, that's interesting. You also use sound to um, add to the sessions. Is that true? That you're
Absolutely.
using different things during the sessions. Can you talk about how that looks?
Yeah. So every song that I play that's recorded is intuitively hand chosen by me in the moment. So I never have a one playlist fits all type of thing. I'm very much energetically aligning my frequency to the frequency of the room and the medicine and the person. And so that will be my inner guidance system of knowing what song to play when. And then coupled with that is I will do live sound healing. So I have a gong, a medicine drum, shakers, all the things that you could think about, that I use during. And I also use songs, so sacred songs that I receive through my channel, and that will be a part of the healing process. And the songs and sometimes poems too, I'll share out loud, are healing transmissions that support the client in moving through whatever it is that they're moving through at that time.
Mm, lovely. So here in California, this is still not legal to do.
Mhm.
You're in Oregon, where you are certified and it is legal to do. And I have listeners not just in California, but all over the world. So there's varying degrees of access to this or having it be potentially an underground kind of thing.
Mhm.
How I want to be really careful to not advocate something that isn't legal where you are first,
Mhm.
for those listeners, that it's not that. But if this is a journey somebody's choosing to go on, they find a place to do it that is legal and all of the things line up. What, how do we go about finding the right facilitator? I imagine it's something like trying to find the right therapist. You
Right.
have to have a thing. Like there has to be a thing there, I imagine.
Yeah, I would just, start to ask yourself what your values are in a facilitator, right? Is it important that they're a therapist, or is it important that they're more of a ceremonial shamanic, background? Is it important that they play music live, or like all these things that can really add, to the experience? Ask yourself, is it important or not? And then I always feel like I find my therapist or healer or mentor by just honestly just by seeing a photo of them and feeling alignment, or even if there's no photo of them, just feeling their words and seeing how that resonates in my body. And then, booking a call with them to just kind of seek alignment and ask the right questions. And you want to just be sure that someone that you choose, you feel safe, and that safety is something that you can both commit to building, and that trust is something that you can commit to both building with you and your facilitator. Because I really feel that the relationship that you have with your facilitator is the most important when doing this work. Because if you feel safe with your facilitator, then you're going to be able to go so much deeper in your session. And then also, what I would recommend is developing resources and tools to enhance your own ability for self safety, which
Yeah.
is something I can help guide you through if you need support with that.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question in terms of safety. A lot of people are apprehensive about doing things with other people that are strangers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if something really cracks open in me and I get messy?
Mm-hmm.
This is a big thing this is why the facilitator is so important, because they're holding the space, but there's other people there you may not know. So how are we how are we navigating that if
So the
that's a
question is,
concern? Yeah, if
yeah,
it's a
so
concern about, coming undone or having an awakening or something gets messy in the presence of strangers.
yeah, I mean, so I like to say I can't predict what your experience is going to be. I have no idea really what's going to unfold for you, but I can 100% assure you that I'm going to be here holding the space, holding you and your messiness and your awakening every step of the way. And what that looks like is just having a safe, grounded, calming, compassionate, and empathetic presence while you are navigating. I would say the roller coaster, moment. And, I've kind of seen it all, so nothing really scares me. Um, and yeah, I mean, I also have a background in nursing, so I've, seen messy. So for me, it's like you can, you know, have an accident or whatever, and I will not judge. I will just love and embrace you just as you are, and also see it as just part of the healing experience.
Yeah.
So find somebody that isn't going to judge you. Find somebody that is going to embrace you for all parts of you, both messy and beautiful and all the things.
Yeah. And messy doesn't have to actually be physically messy. I mean, it can be,
Right.
like an emotional messy too, which is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times what it can. Well, I'm not speaking from authority, but I imagine it's um, an internal messy most of the time, an
Yeah.
internal cracking open. And how is that when people do come out the other side and you are in a group setting?
Mm.
Do things shift during that process among the group when you come in as strangers and maybe leave as other feeling differently?
Yeah, I wanna just backpedal to like one added note to what you shared. About like the messiness, because I do think it's important that if you are trying to find the right facilitator for you, is that you ask them parts about their own healing journey or their own, awakening experience. And if they can say, parts of their messy history or parts where they were so unleashed and unhinged, and it can really speak to their own experience, then you can be sure that they have comfort in holding you in that as well. Because I really don't, I really believe that we can only meet people as deep as we've met ourselves. And so I just want to name that. And yeah, so, if you want to do an experience like this, it can be private, or it can be in a group setting. It doesn't have to be in a group setting. And if it's for your first time, you might want to try a private journey just to kind of get your sea legs wet. But I really love both. The one amazing thing about group work is that usually when the group starts to form, and usually it's strangers coming together, there are certain themes that everybody's kind of working on that shows up. And so someone else's healing or process becomes a mirror for you. And like you can almost get like so much without having to do some of the work,
Mm,
because someone else might be doing that deep work and their share of it might just, whoa, like, you might not be able to embody the teaching just yet, but like it starts to turn something in you to where you can start to kind of go down that rabbit hole if you desire, that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. And I mean, I've seen so many of my clients just have profound experiences when shared in a group setting, because also the group can act as a family unit, and a lot of our trauma has been done in our family units or our family systems. And so, someone might represent the aunt that you hate or the mother that you feel betrayed by. And if there is healing happening for them, you might be able to maybe extend more forgiveness or compassion or understanding towards somebody that might be a projection of somebody from your history.
yeah. Wow. That's the beauty of healing together, what you just described. There's so much power in healing together and understanding that we are not just individuals having a human experience, but we're really a collective having a human experience and so much more in common than we can even begin to imagine. So it's really beautiful.
And that's what the mushrooms teach us, right?
Yeah.
That great web that they represent. Yeah.
Wow. What a perfect way to end it. Thank you. This was a
Thank
really
you.
lovely conversation. You've provided some important um, information around some of the mysteriousness of this, the mystique of this kind of medicine. And so grateful for your time here. If we wanted to know more about what you do or how to get in touch with you, how can we find you?
Sure, yeah. My website is easy. It's christinemarieheals.com. It's also christinemarieheals@gmail.com. Christine Marie Heals is my Instagram name, so it's very easy for you to find me. Everything is pretty in sync. And please don't be afraid to email or reach out with any questions or book a call with me, and I'm more than happy to just help you maybe find your way towards working with this medicine if you feel like it's calling you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I will link all of that in the show notes so you're easy to find. And thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leanne.
Until next time.